This is why you died.
Hello again, and welcome back to This Is Why You Died, the horror show that we've gutted, skinned, and kept fresh in the fridge for when you need a midnight snack. I, as always, am Sir Ian Dangerous, aka your Uncle Frank, and joining me at this table of sweet, meaty treats are the Butcher of Burbank, Dan March of Madness, and the Slayer of Sun Valley, Ryan Ross Live. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
We have
welcome back.
Unofficial murder names.
Yes.
Killer titles.
Yeah, those are our tag names, and we got snacks in the fridge.
We're going to have nicknames galore by the time this show wraps up. But we are, of course, the show where we dig deep into our 666 words and phrases in our buckets of the beast. And based on what prompt we pick, we select a horror movie to watch and discuss right here on this very podcast, YouTube show, and Patreon page. And speaking of which, Dan, real quick before we get into this, where should they go to find all of our links?
They should go to beacons.ai/TIWYD pod. It's where you can get all the links. Like you said, you can get this cool beanie too. I wear this thing all the time. Even to our lunch that we had just a few days ago when we met up, it was still on my head. It doesn't leave.
It was.
I love it.
At Lulu's. Lulu's out in the valley.
Shout out to Lulu's. That was good.
What up,
It was
Lulu's?
good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Hidden
Oh,
gem.
so good.
So you
Can't
got
stop
to
thinking
check
about
it out if you live in the valley. Go to Lulu's.
I just had I got the drunken pasta over there. I just had the leftovers earlier this evening, and still good. It lasts.
Ooh,
And are you?
nice.
Did they make you drunken again?
I think it's meant to be more of a recovery drunken. If my
is
version was
that why the
like
name is?
at least it seemed angled that way. For those who don't want to look up the menu, it's like penne pasta with like pink sauce and garlic galore and shrimp and a bunch of other mixins and good stuff. So it
So
very
it's like
much
a
seems like a
hangover
recovery.
pasta sort of
It's a
thing.
recovery
Gotcha.
pasta.
How ironic that you had your recovery pasta while Dan and I both had screwdrivers for breakfast.
Mhm.
That's
But
true.
also how funny that you should have that garlic-laden pasta on this particular show, given the movie that we're going to be talking about today.
What a segue. That was great.
What an incredible opportunity. The problem is, I don't want to talk about the movie just yet. There's a couple of things I want to get off my chest before we jump into Ryan's
Let's do it. All right.
movie. First and foremost, I just found out minutes before this recording, Udo Kier passed away.
Who's
The
that?
legendary actor Udo Kier, you might know him from such movies as Flesh for Frankenstein, Blood for Dracula. He was the rich guy in Ace Ventura. He's been in tons of horror movies, tons of movies. He's very iconic. Once you see him, he played a vampire before, so that's another reason why I wanted to bring him up as well. Rest in peace,
Rest in peace.
All right.
Udo Kier.
I do.
Yeah,
I'm
very
sorry
sad.
that I chuckled at the fact that the two horror movies you named, Dan didn't have any reaction to. But the minute you said the rich guy in Ace Ventura, Dan goes,
Well, yeah.
I'm like, okay, there's
Oh, yeah.
Dan
Oh,
as
yeah.
dad.
Who hasn't? Who hasn't?
I'll tell you right now,
Not
if
seen
you guys
Ace
pull up
Ventura.
his picture,
I haven't
if you guys
seen
pull
Ace
up his
Ventura.
picture,
Wow, my God.
what?
I haven't seen Ace Ventura.
Oh, okay.
This is
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a,
surprising,
This
This
is
is
brings on the
surprising.
show. I cannot.
but it never, it happens
What
all
year
the
did it
time
come
that
out?
Ryan goes, I haven't seen that.
Okay,
but
hold on. Are we
it
talking about the
never-
original Ace Ventura?
Yes.
Do you guys know what year that was released?
Oh, God.
How old are you?
Well, first off, what year do you either of you happen to know what year?
90, 92, 92, 91,
that
92,
early?
right around there.
It's 90.
That early?
It's 94. Guess what
Okay.
year I was born, gentlemen?
92?
94.
Oh, it was. Oh, God.
The reason I didn't see it is because literally it was released in February. I was not breathing yet.
You know what's crazy about that, Ryan, is that you have had 31 years since then to see it.
Yeah,
It's not like
but
it's gone away.
There have been there have been much higher priorities than Ace Ventura on the list
Come
of
on,
movies to
E.T.
watch.
came out the year I was born. I
Yes,
still watched it 2 years old. And
That's considered
again
much
and
more
again
of a
and again.
cultural classic than Ace Ventura, I think.
We're like, what are you talking about? This is like Ace Ventura is like one of the most quoted movies ever.
No, that's
What?
Princess
Yeah.
Bride, hands down, and I will die on that hill.
That's it. Well, Princess Bride's a pretty. That's a
yeah,
pretty-
I mean,
but
that's
I think
You cannot
On
say
the
Ace Ventura is
street.
more quotable than Princess Bride.
On the street, I think more people would know Ace Ventura quotes than Princess Bride. That would be an interesting.
That
would man on the street segment.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Maybe like a bonus thing is go out and figure out. Not very horror related. We kind of got off the path here because Ryan completely derailed my train here.
From Ace Ventura, I don't even know. The only thing I know from Ace Ventura is that he crawls out the rhino's butthole. That's the only thing I know.
Sequel. That's the second one.
Okay, see, I don't even know.
Oh my god, damn
Oh my God.
What's a quote from Ace Ventura?
Ventura. Yes, Satan? I mean,
Satan's in the movie?
Like a glove? I mean, how long do you want me to go for? Because I can go.
Well,
I mean,
I know a lot.
We can do this all day.
Lot of Carrie movies. I just haven't seen that one.
Laces out, Marino. I mean, they're the whole movie. I could go down the whole movie.
Anyway,
let's get back on track.
I would like to ask you a question.
Ace Ventura? What do we even? Oh, it's the guy who died. Rest in peace, actor.
Rest in peace, Udo Kier. You can look at you can look him up. You'll know who I'm talking about.
I want to know.
This is good. This segment has gone on way too long. I'm so sorry.
How do you spell
to everyone who's tuned in for Ryan's movie, and we're going off on how Ryan's never seen Ace Ventura.
Oh my gosh, I know this guy. Yes,
of course you do.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, rest in peace, Udo Kier, a famous vampire actor, and very appropriate considering the movie that we're doing today, which Ryan picked. And Ryan, perhaps you'd like to introduce to us the movie that you picked today and how exactly we picked that movie, because it was a bit of a journey.
It would be my pleasure. So today we are watching Ryan Coogler's 2025 film Sinners, which we chose because I drew the prompt first and decided to say fuck it and slash it instead because I wanted to make sure that we did not leave 2025 without covering this movie. I've been excited to cover it with you guys since I saw it earlier this year. I managed to see it as an employee screening for my job, so I saw it before it hit theaters. I've been thrilled about it since. But I was unable to get it in before you two also saw it. So I just had to make sure that we got through before it made it out of 2025, especially following how much we love Frankenstein. So very, very excited to discuss this movie today. I'm a huge vampire boy. And there's just so much in this movie. There's so much. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow. It's gonna be fun to dive in with a very passionate, very invested Ryan Ross live. And it's actually, I think you're spot on. It's great to get this movie in as soon as we can and before Oscars season hits, because it would not surprise me if this movie is all over the place at the Oscars like Frankenstein should be. I'm rooting for a horror movie here at the Oscars. Let's go. But speaking of which, let's go on Sinners right now on this episode of This Is Why You Died. So, of course, going forward, bam, 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 spoiler alert, spoiler warning for the movie Sinners. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It is a great movie. It was it's the big blockbuster of the year. Out of nowhere, Ryan Coogler came out of the woodwork with this brand new original idea, and it blew doors at the box office when it came out last spring. So, let's see. For those who haven't seen it and yet are still listening and wondering what Sinners is about, it's about a pair of twin brothers who try to open a juke joint in Jim Crow era Mississippi. They've come back from Chicago with some ill-gotten gains, and they want to reinvest in their community. And starting the juke joint, they find their cousin, who is a incredible blues player. And he's such a powerful blues player that his music can actually call the spirits of their ancestors in the past and their predecessors in the future. And by doing so, he unfortunately attracts a bunch of vampires who want to get their hands on that magic. So that's a very, very rudimentary description of the movie. Ryan, I think you want to give more details, do you not?
It's a little out there. Well, honestly, I got to tell a story. So when I did see this movie, right, we went in completely blind. And I will say straight up, watching it the second time, I would give a variety of things to see this movie again with fresh eyes for the first time, because seeing this movie completely blind was incredible. And I highly recommend, if you have the chance to go in fairly blind, to do it. all we knew was that it was Michael B. Jordan and Hailee Steinfeld, which we both like. And we had done no research. We had seen no ads, like almost nothing. And as the lights are like 30 seconds before the lights go down, Sasha leans over and goes, I think I just heard one of your favorite words. I'm like, what? And she goes, vampires. I was like, vampires? And then the lights go down. Like,
nice.
we had no clue at all.
Okay.
And so it was great.
What? How are you a vampire guy and yet you've seen so few vampire movies?
Well, so I've seen some vampire movies. And the thing is, here's the problem that I have is, at least in most of the things I've seen, which granted, I haven't seen a lot of film vampire stuff. I've seen a variety of vampires in media, whether it's cartoons or games or whatever. Like vampires are always very popular. My problem with most recorded media of vampires is that they tend to be either cheesy or they kind of pick and choose the rules of like, there's like standard stuff that goes along with vampires. Like, and there's some stuff that varies version to version of like, generally speaking, I'm going to pull out my soapbox for vampires real quick. So vampires are immortal. They feast on blood. They make new vampires through biting and drinking blood of people. And then what happens varies. Sometimes they die. Sometimes they become vampires. Sometimes they become thralls in control of the vampire who created them. There's that. There's the weaknesses of like, sometimes like generally stake through the heart is pretty clear. Garlic's usually pretty clear, but sometimes there's running water. That's not always the case. Sometimes you have to get them in the coffin. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes they can turn into bats or fog or mist or they can fly.
Or sometimes they sparkle too, you know.
Correct. And,
God damn it, Dan. You shut your whore mouth.
There's the mirror thing of like sometimes you can see them in mirrors and sometimes you can't. And so like there's a lot of vampires have been around a very long time and there's a lot of different aspects of what makes a vampire. And generally people tend to pick and choose stuff that works for the story, but it always kind of feels like kind of cobbled together, and it's frustrating because some of the really cool stuff never gets represented, but this movie, it does the cool stuff, and I'm so pumped about it.
What? Okay, hold on, because I want to find out how Dan saw this movie, but before we get to Dan and his experience with Sinners, what do you consider the cool stuff with vampires?
So my favorite part about vampires as a concept, right, is that vampires tend to be very charismatic. They tend to be very well-spoken. They have to blend into social environments, right? They are humans that have lived, that are able to live indefinitely. So they have to blend in among people. And then by nature of living for a very long time and learning about people, generally speaking, they pick up people skills and they have to learn. And one of the rules that is often not well represented in media is that vampires can't cross thresholds without permission. And that specific element is done so well in this movie. Specifically, I mean, if we're, I don't want to just steal the spotlight here. I want to make sure Dan gets a chance to talk. But I have stuff, dude. Like I am.
Wow, he's prepped.
He came fired up. All right, we'll get back to the vampires. We'll get back to the vampires because I'm going to warn you that is going to be a topic of debate later in the show. But Dan, March of Madness. Well, we're going to square up. Dan, March of Madness. Okay, you'd seen Sinners before. We'd all seen Sinners earlier this year. Where did you see it? How did you see Sinners? What was your first experience with it?
I sadly did not get a chance to make it out to the theater to see this, which is really unfortunate because I wanted to see this in IMAX. I wanted to see it in the full screen. And so I was really upset that I just never had the opportunity to do it. So as soon as it was available to purchase, I just bought it for streaming because I wanted to own it. I knew I wanted to own it. I heard so much great ththings about it. I love Ryan Coogler as a director, so I knew I needed to see it. I saw it the night it was released digitally. I was in it. And so I saw it that first time, and I haven't seen it since until last night. Watched it again for a second time. So, but yeah, I am unfortunately so sad that I was a at-home only viewer, and I'm kicking myself because it's so beautiful to look at on my screen, and I just wish I could have seen it on a giant screen in a theater with a house full of people. So
because they did. I mean, this was an IMAX movie. They shot it in the IMAX format for a good chunk of it. I mean, you can still see they do a lot of aspect ratio changes in the movie, and it's not subtle. Like they're not going to try and slip them in there. They'll just straight go in some scenes, whoop, and it'll just open up in some scenes and go to those big IMAX cameras. Which Coogler even had a lot of mentorship from Christopher Nolan on how to even use IMAX cameras and what the technological specifications were. The one scene that's kind of like the scene in the movie where we have this incredible crane shot through the crowd as Preacher Boy starts playing his song and they start communing with the spirits, and you get this massive IMAX crane shot through the crowd as all of the spirits from the past and the future come together and start dancing with them and moving with them and playing music with them in this space. And then the roof lights up on fire and we come to outside and the whole place is burned down because of the power of the music. That incredible shot was pieced together from a number of different shots, because IMAX cameras can only capture about 45 seconds at a time before they run out of their spool of film. So they had to figure out how they were going to move the camera around, when they were going to cut, how much they could get in each particular movement and shot. It's an incredibly technologically demanding shot. It's an insane shot from a technical perspective, not just from a storytelling perspective, because they did it in IMAX, real IMAX. So yeah, speaking of which, Dan, that was a reason to see it in the theater, was just that shot alone.
That shot, when I saw it at home, I mean, just seeing that the first time was just, it blew me away. Like, to see the future musicians come into play was just so out there. Cause like you're in this period piece movie, you're invested in this time. And then when they just start bringing in like 70s guitarists, 80s hip hop, a DJ, I was like, this is beyond, like, he's doing something really special here. And so that scene just like floored me. I was like, if I wasn't invested before, that scene like locked me in. I was like, okay, he's doing something really cool with this film. So what
did you think about that, about the scene when you first saw it, Ryan? What did you make of it?
I have mixed feelings on it, because here's the thing. So I think the shot's beautiful. I think technically it's beautiful. I also feel like out of most of the movie, it kind of sticks out as a sore thumb. It feels like it doesn't dovetail into the rest of the movie as well as a lot of the rest of the movie does for me. But I also think that at the end of the day, there's basically three elements of this movie. And there is the like vampire aspect, there is the like creative of the actual story, and then there's the like African American experience part. And like straight up, it's very hard to like speak to the movie as a whole, in the sense of like the African American experience is nowhere near anywhere that I've ever experienced. I don't feel qualified or more morally like capable of speaking to that. But that also is a huge part of this film. Like, it's so driven and informed by African American history, the African American experience. Like, it's set in the African American South. Like, that is a huge part of this movie. And that specific aspect, I think, really is a huge part of that cultural aspect of the movie. And so like, I find it hard to critique it because like, it's not for me, but from a just from a receptacle standpoint of just receiving the movie, that shot is technically beautiful, but it stands out. It took me out of the movie in the moment, because I feel like it's a really cool message and it's super cool creatively, but it also like really stretches that moment in the midst of everything happening. And I was really excited about everything happening. And so
hold on a second then, because the movie begins with them describing how the music, like whether it was in Ireland or whether it was in China or the Choctaws, no matter where you are, there are people who speak to the past and speak to the future. And for, that music is a big part of that experience, that transcendent experience. So they're making that kind of the point of the movie from the very beginning. What happened with this movie where you feel that what were the aspects of it that were really speaking to you then, if not that? And how did that kind of not follow through the entire movie for you then.
Well, so I still really appreciate the music aspect. I'm a musician. I played piano and trumpet for years of my life. I still kind of do here and there, not nearly to the degree that I used to. But I do love the music in this movie. The blues is really well represented. It's used as such a cool tool to support the story and then also emphasize cool moments. Also, the dichotomy of the blues versus like basically the whitest music you can find is like, let's go traditional Irish folk tunes. Like that dichotomy is very interesting and plays into kind of like some of the dynamic of the movie too. And in general, all of the music in this movie is very good. I think that part of, that scene specifically was they were really pulling on the different directions of blues music and specifically like jazz and the evolution of jazz into rock. And we mentioned like hip hop, all this stuff that was kind of like an extension of 1920s blues before and after, other than they do have the Asian family that owns the general stores. They have like a little nod in there to that too, specifically in the room that they are. But I think that like the message is super cool. The creative aspect of it is cool. And technically the shot is brilliant. I just think that like they sit on it for so long and we're really shifting musical tones throughout the whole scene as we get different like focuses of going from the piano to the DJ to like the old African dancers with the drums and the beads, that it becomes such a focus moment that then when we pan out and we get back into the story, it's almost like a head dunk of like,
but hold on a second, but isn't that kind of the point of that scene is to be like, hey, here's our big moment. This is what the movie's really about. But if you're saying that for you was pulling you out of it and saying, you're saying, get back to the story, I'm kind of confused because to me that moment was like the moment where Coogler's like, hey, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Dan, what did you, how did it translate for you? Did you feel that was like the kind of the big moment of the movie, or was that a bump along the story?
I think that
along the way.
I think it was the big moment of the movie. I think it was like it encapsulated the message, and I think that it exemplified like that storytelling aspect that opened the film, so it really, really worked for me. And I think that what it did for me, because there's another musical moment that really hits me hard, that I think it is a tease to lead up to this moment, which I think that the big message is like, not only is the music is there, music in African American culture is there as an expression, but it's to heal them, it's to carry them through so much pain and suffering that they're just continually going through. And then that pain and that healing aspect is carrying them decade to decade as it morphs and changes. And so I feel like that's what he was saying is like, from the past, it's healed. In the future, it's healing as a culture. This is what music can do for us as a people, is like carry us through, get us through the hardest times in our lives, like help us heal and come together and survive. That and tell our stories too, so like that's it. Just it shocked me to see like a 70s guitarist all of a sudden. I was like, wait, what's happening? I'm like, and then but then as soon as like I saw the DJ, and then the DJ was like saying like was saying Preacher Boy, I was like, this is brilliant. Like I just felt like it was just a brilliant moment, and like a fantastic storytelling and a message that he was giving across, and he was just, it felt so personal too. Like it was just like there was so much like passion from Ryan Coogler, you could feel in it, and that's why I was like, I'm loving this. So it really worked for me. It didn't take me
and
out.
It's funny because and you said it was the DJ. For me, it was actually, strangely enough, all of that I was still kind of taken aback by how jarring it was, Ryan, to your point. But it was when the Chinese dancer comes in that I really kind of went, oh, everyone's spirits are being called up right now.
Yeah.
This is a communal thing. He's saying this isn't just for us. This is community. Like the music, when the right music hits, the whole community is uplifted, right? And that was part of the reason that made a beautiful moment for me. But Dan, what was the other moment? You said earlier on there was one that that kind of led up to it for you.
Man, I remember seeing it the first time, and this moment really got me. I was like, oh, that was so powerful. Second time got me even more, that I started to choke up when Delroy Lindo's his name, right?
Yep.
Delroy Lindo's, they're driving along, they see the chain gang, and he calls out to them. And he tells them, you know, and then somebody gets shot at, is shot, or near shot near, and
they shoot in the air,
shoot in the air to like get him to like stop talking, you know.
Yeah.
And then Preacher Boy asks him and tells that story. Tells this horrible story about a friend of his that was lynched, and it's so painful, but it's so like this common story that you just heard happening throughout the South for, you know, decades. And when you feel his pain. He's remembering that moment, and he says, and he's like, it's a pain that he's expressing, like he's suffering, and then it turns into this beautiful, like that. That was just such a powerful, like, this is what he's saying. He's saying he's taking this heartache, this pain, this suffering, and it turned into the music of the African American community, and it turned into the blues. And I was just like, God, it hit me so hard. Just like,
I think it's important. It's important to note that we can't do it justice. I mean,
no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like, not even close.
That's kind of the point, though, isn't it? And and also, I mean, shout out to Miles Caton, who plays Preacher Boy. The moment that it kind of clicked for me was when he starts drumming his guitar, that really beautiful Dobro Cyclops resonator, and he's that first time when he starts singing in the car. My expression, Michael B. Jordan looks over at him with this kind of like shocked look in his face as he starts singing. He looks at him like, what the actual fuck? And he starts singing. That was my expression too. I'm like, God damn, that boy can sing.
It's really good.
Holy
He's really talented.
Shit. He's really talented. First time, I mean, you know, he got picked up out of nowhere for this movie because of that voice and that ability that he had. I mean, a perfect casting for what they're doing here. But Ryan, so if that scene to you wasn't kind of like the high point of the movie, what to you was the through line? What to you was like the theme that they were going for all of this?
So I do think that the music is the through line. I very much agree with that. And I think, honestly, it's not that the scene didn't work for me. I think more so kind of, I wanted it to be more of a emotional moment. And I think that the message, although good, like, I think that there was an element of it that felt a little intellectualized for me, of like, I felt like the having it all in the same, like the actual visuals, like had they actually just mixed in some of that music in without actually physically showing the people in the space or something, like that's, and this is purely my opinion. Like, I'm not going to say like, I fully recognize that this is probably not how everyone feels, but like, I think it was just, I wanted it to feel, I like he's such a powerful performer. We've already established he's so talented, and we're seeing this entire community rally around his music. And then we kind of pivot away from his music a little bit, and we get this other stuff that's relevant to his music, but we're pulling the focus away from what I felt like was the heart, was that his performance is moving here. It's very powerful. And throwing in all these accoutrements, although a good message and effective, I just felt like I wanted more of him in that moment. And that I wanted more of that emotional center around his performance specifically. And I get that there's supposed to be extensions of that, but that was just... That was just my reaction, both the first time and unfortunately the second time too. Although when the barn burns down, the barn burning parallel is brilliant, just from a visual standpoint of like, oh, we're barn burning.
The roof was literally on fire.
So cool. Yeah. And then to pan out and to have the literal them standing in the parking lot with just nothing but the rubble and all the people dancing, like that shot is so beautiful. And that moment was very chilling for me. And then to have it like essentially pan back and the building's just back. Like, I thought that was super cool.
So if that moment isn't like the pinnacle of the movie for you, what was the moment you went like, yeah, this is my movie?
Well, so this is going to sound dumb in comparison, and I will fully preface that. But the moment that stuck with me, that was like the shocker moment for me, and unfortunately it didn't hit as hard the second time, but the first time, is when Hailee Steinfeld's walking back to the barn after she has spoken to the three of them, the three outside. Yes.
Yeah.
She's spoken to them.
She's walking back to the barn, and all of a sudden, Remick just fucking lifts into the air. That
That was
shot
cool.
was so chilling and was shocking in the theater and stuck with me for hours afterwards. Just that brief, because it's so fast. It's so fast, but it's done so well that that stuck with me. And that's, in comparison, a much simpler shot, and I think as much a less impactful moment of the movie. But God, it was cool.
But that actually is a great way to segue, because that's a great horror shot, you know, is the moment of the ways that the vampires attack you. Like, but is this a horror movie? Is my question. Or is this a movie that has horror in it? Obviously, I'm kind of, to answer my own question, I do believe that horror is like a taste. If you throw it into the soup, it's going to make the whole soup taste like it. So you can't really have a horror movie with horror. You can't have a movie with horror elements and have it not be a horror movie. So this is a little bit of a double-edged sword, but this movie has so much going on, and the horror in it is part of the storytelling. It's part of what it's the larger picture that's trying to paint. But a lot of the people say about this is that it's a drama that just happens to have horror in it. Do you guys agree with that? Or do you feel like it is a blood in, blood out horror movie?
Two things can be true. It is a drama and it is a horror for very different reasons. And I think, similar to some of the other things we've talked about with The Substance or other movies, this is a movie that uses horror as a vehicle to send a message. But there are very horrific elements of this movie. People get their jaws blasted off. I think one of the really cool shots that is just a straight horror shot is when Smoke goes to hand Cornbread the money outside of the barn door, and he grabs his arm, and we get this little slow-mo shot of him trying to bite it. Like, there are very horrendous elements of this movie. It is very much a horror movie, but the message is a drama. It's not really about the vampires as vampires. It's more about what the vampires represent. It's more about the culture of what's happening in the movie and the people and their experience. It's about what the juke joint represents as essentially a space that they own and a retreat that they can actually inhabit. There's a lot in it that is not your standard horror structure, but it uses the horror to emphasize those things, in my opinion.
Well, Dan, was it a horror movie to you, or was it a drama?
Yeah, I feel like I could even go a tiny step further and say that it's a musical hidden inside of a horror.
Hey!
Because it's definitely a horror movie, but it's also a musical. I mean, there's music numbers that carry it from beginning to the very end. Even when you get old Preacher Boy, brilliantly played by Buddy Guy. It's great to see a classic blues player play in this movie, but Buddy Guy singing a song at the end. It's this is a musical, man. This is a musical, fantastic music, but it's a horror movie for sure.
And you gave me the exact answer I was looking for, Dan, because it is in so many ways a musical, and the music, there's so many layers to what they're doing with the music in this. Even down to the idea of generationally passing down the music from generation to generation. At the end, Buddy Guy, an actual legendary blues musician, whose mentor was Muddy Waters, he's on stage at the end with Kingfish Ingram, who's a modern blues player who's becoming more famous. There is very much an idea of passing these traditions down and passing this legacy down going on in this movie. And even on the other side with the Irish vampires, where he's passing these traditions along as well. And there's even a nice moment, that first song, that Pick Poor Robin Clean song that the vampires are singing. Yeah. Chilling, but that's so actually really, well, yeah, but they're doing that kind of weird little folk version of it. But that's almost like that. There's a subtle undertone there too, right? That's originally a blues song by Luke Jordan. And they're appropriating it and putting their own style on it.
So I want to jump in on the appropriation element here, because this is something
that's the big word. That's the big word for this movie. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't
catch this the first time, and I only actually realized this in preparation for this episode. But so the fact that he's Irish is actually really intentional, which I hadn't thought of. Is, first off, this isn't covered in the movie, but there's actually like an Easter egg in the soundtrack that was put on Spotify that you can find, essentially like some behind the scenes information and like news stories that are relevant to the story that happened prior to the story's start. And one of them, I have it actually pulled up, is a Boston Daily Journal article about a immigrant ship that was wrecked with no survivors at Boston Harbor. And it describes the Celtic Hare, which is a ship that arrived overnight carrying Irish immigrants, but they found blood-soaked decks, burned remnants, and a haunting silence. There were no survivors and no bodies. The only survivor seen fled into the woods and appeared to be smoking. And so it's this, we get Remic's origin is that he came on a boat from Ireland, but it's not only is he essentially trying to appropriate the culture of the blues and everything, but he's trying to promise freedom and like community and freedom from death and equality to everyone in this community and all the African Americans and even the Chinese that are all present here. But it's all kind of under the guise of like he still is ultimately going to be the head of them as thralls. He's going to ingest their culture. He is going to filter it through his own experience. All of their memories get linked to his. And so it's this false promise of true equality when that's not really the case. But then the fact that he's Irish and he came from Ireland, that came from an Englishman at some point, or somebody who, like, it's implied that was during like colonial Ireland, because he's a vampire, he's lived a while. The early 1920s was just after all of these events in Ireland of like colonialization and the famine and stuff. And so it's implied that he got it from probably oppression before him. And so we're getting this cycle of oppression going on, which is terrifying.
Yeah. And I'd like the fact that it was on the one hand, on a surface reading, it could be read as the Irish are the bad guys, but at a deeper reading, you're realizing there's a deep cultural pain with the Irish as well. And that's being passed down along it. And I think that also it's not a coincidence that Bram Stoker was Irish.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting.
So
I didn't know that.
And they touch on it in the pawn scene where they talk about the prayers of, he kind of talks about like the people who come in
right now too. Yeah,
precisely. Well, Dan, I'll let you like dive into that.
No, just I love, like, that line was great when he starts spouting verse, the scripture, and he's like, oh, I recognize this from when they forced that religion on us too. And I was like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, that's one of the things a lot of people don't notice is this movie is really mad at Christianity, between the fact that preacher boy and his dad and his they're being so nice in the church and they're being so polite and so obedient, hey, don't go do that sinning, because that's not the right way to be, and what a tool of oppression Christianity has been over the centuries. This movie heavily implies that, doesn't dive too much into it, but it's definitely got quite a few like just big needle drop moments on that. That's a great pick. So boys, we've got to start heading towards our end segments here.
We haven't even hit the surface. I feel like I'm more.
There's so much more. Well, this is what I was going to say is, Ryan, I know you got a bunch of notes. Dan, I know you have more things to say about this movie. Now's the time. Gentlemen, anything else on your mind?
Well, Dan,
about
you go
Sinners?
first, because I've got multiple things.
Oh my gosh.
I'm ready to go deep on this.
Oh, okay. Man.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just think that like all the wonders that he does in this film, all the just the way that it's shot, the way the transitions to IMAX there's certain scenes that are just so brilliantly done. The reveals are great. The twist, it's just such a great movie. I think, I remember it hitting me the first time. I was like, oh, that was cool, but it hit me better. Like, I cheered out loud by myself watching this again in the scene where when all the vampires about to come in after the Chinese woman has screamed like, come in, and it goes from regular aspect ratio and then just opens up to full IMAX, and they're just geared up. I was like, let's go. I was so thrilled at that moment and so excited. It was so good.
Did you guys? I was trying to find a pattern of when it switches from cinematic to full, and the only thing that I could figure was that all the IMAX moments were heightened emotional moments, and then all of the like Cinemark, more like narrow cinema bar style, where like the essentially everything that was the momentum of the movie in terms of like event happening to event. But the minute anything got heightened emotions, we widened up. Whether it was there was a lot of sky shots, there was some of the like landscape stuff, there was the big scene, the big fight scene in the entirety of that, but then also a lot of the memory stuff went full screen. Like that was really the only through line I could find. Did you guys, was there anything
that was actually one of my criticisms of Sinners, is that sometimes they went to IMAX for arbitrary reasons. It just seemed arbitrary. I would love to get more of an explanation as to why they chose certain scenes. Certain scenes, Dan, I agree. The one where they go big for the fight scene, that's absolutely what they should have done, and that makes sense there, right? Other scenes, it just seemed like it just was because we want to do this scene big, so we'll just transition to big here. And not like they had any real story reason to do it or emotional reason to do it. So I agree, Ryan. That's a bit of a criticism that I have as well. But Dan, anything else you want to drop on Sinners? We're going to be here all night if we're not careful.
Yeah, no, but I'll say two things. You can't go. I envy Ryan because he went in completely, blind, which is what a lot of people did back in the 90s when they saw From Dusk Till Dawn. Which they thought was a action like Rob.
They thought it was like Tarantino crime movie,
right? And then halfway through, at a bar, all of a sudden, vampires everywhere. Yeah. So it's like,
and not just vampires, but like super big comic book cartoon, like ugly faces, flesh ripping, blood spurting, like exploitation vampires.
Right. So like the comparison of those two, like you can't deny that. I think that was great. Another thing I'm going to throw in too, which is really is funny. I saw that when these two movies were then released, there was two huge movies this year. One of them was Sinners. The other one I've mentioned before, and my girls are still obsessed with, is K-pop Demon Hunters. A lot of people have said this is a really unique double feature, that you could watch these two movies together because the theme of them both is about the power of music through generation to defeat the evil and to carry through. Because it's like, because Sinners is about, the power of music, bringing a community together, and K-pop Demon Hunters is about the, passing this music ability, and the music is what helps keep the demons at bay, helps create this Hanmoon that keeps the demons from entering our world. The
golden Hanmoon.
So of course, like when they I saw so many people on TikTok like, don't think I'm crazy, but if you watch Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters, it's a great double feature. So I just thought that was funny, because the first time that I walked in and like the K-pop Demon Hunters was right on the rise, I walked in as my girls had been watching it for the first time. It was at the end scene, so I knew nothing about it. And I asked my wife, I was like, "What's this about?" And she tells me, it's like, "Oh, these pop stars, they sing and it helps them battle demons." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of like Sinners." And so it was funny. So I was like, I had to mention that. So if anybody wants to do an interesting double feature, Sinners, that's with K-pop Demon Hunters,
super interesting. Yeah. Can't bring your kids to the second one, but
no.
Yeah, a little too much discussion of cunnilingus for that. But Ryan Ross Live, you said you had a bunch more.
I do.
Come on, man. Let's rock. What you got?
So we touched on the barn door scenes earlier. I think every scene at the barn door is brilliant in this movie, because the social element of vampires is so well represented in this movie. Not only kind of the negotiation tactic. Oh, Co, you rolling your eyes? I'll fight you on this. I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm like, letting you get it out.
The fact that they are like the manipulation of like hey, like I need permission to come in. They touch on it throughout the entire movie. Originally with the when Remick appears to the white couple at their cabin, which I didn't notice the first time, but the second time I noticed there's vultures flying around the cabin once he's let in, which was so cool.
And once the Choctaw leave, they land.
Correct.
Too, by the way.
Correct, which is so cool. But all of the door entry scenes are just done, the manipulation of the social element is done so well, of this like back and forth of cordiality, of politeness, of like, hey, like, come on, we can be kind to each other, like we can be respectful. And the cornbread one specifically is such a chilling thing, not only because of the moment where he pulls his arm, but also he starts to take on mannerisms and characteristics of Remick. He doesn't act like cornbread. He starts acting like Remick did previously, and the way that they exchange information and the way that they verbalize to each other shifts as he kind of is absorbed into this like hive mindy thing, which is unique to this movie, that they like all have shared memories. But
can we quickly shout out? We were shout out Miles Caton. I want to shout out Jack O'Connell, the guy who played Remick.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's incredible. And if you've ever seen a little movie called Eden Lake, you know that he's also one of the most terrifying human beings ever, because he is the antagonist in that movie. Oh. And that movie will fuck you up.
I haven't
fuck you up
yet.
Oh my God. When I realized it was that guy, I was like, oh, I was even more scared of him than I was. But I'm sorry, Ryan, I interrupted. Go ahead.
You're all good. But like it's done brilliantly. I think Cornbread's a brilliant actor as well. Like the scene where he's out and like they get the little eyeballs peeking out of the dark. Like there's so much cool cinematography stuff with just generally the suspense of this movie, but all the barn door scenes and the way that they represented the social element of vampires, I just feel like is something that's never represented well, or to this degree, and I loved that. But also inspirations Ryan Coogler has listed for this movie, because he's listed a bunch of stuff that inspired this movie, and like this is his first original. This is the first thing that he's done that wasn't a franchise or an installment, and this was kind of his passion project. But first off, he listed Metallica's One as a musical inspiration for this movie. And if you listen to Metallica's One and then look at the pacing of this movie, you just get this like, you start slow, you get the establishing stuff, and then you just start ramping into chaos. And you can very much see like the beats and how they line up with the musical structure of One, which is such a wild pull. But even more wild, and something I haven't gotten to pull in a while, have either of you, this is a very Ryan on the horror podcast pull, have either of you seen Puss in Boots' Last Wish?
So no, but I think I know what you're talking about when it comes to the depiction of death in that movie, right?
So first off, everyone go see Puss in Boots' Last Wish.
I've heard it's great. I do want to. It's on my list. I have it over here.
It's like it sounds ridiculous. It's a masterpiece, and it's also, I would argue, similar to like K-pop Demon Hunters and like the Spider-Verse movies and like Arcane, in that realm of like kind of reinventing and pushing the boundaries of animation in general. They did a lot of really crazy cool stuff with like the way that I love that animation is starting to become a tool, a narrative tool within the presentation. But one of the things that was done in that movie is, so the villain of that movie is death. Spoiler alert for a different movie. Bam, bam, bam. Spoiler alert for Puss in Boots' Last Wish. But there's actually a couple antagonists, but one of the antagonists in that movie is Death. And he's represented as a giant wolf in a cloak with scythes, and he's very D&D-ish, which is super cool. But he's got this really haunting whistle that's a through-line musical cadence, like memento type thing throughout the movie that is recurring. But then also he's got these bright red eyes that flash and glow, which Ryan Coogler specifically listed in a podcast. He was on like, there's a podcast called Wrecked or something, with Straw Hat Goofy, if anyone wants to check it out. But he talks about how specifically death in that movie helped inform the vampires, and that the vampires' eyes were designed based off of that, and the reflectiveness of animal eyes in the night is how he designed that like glow effect, which is such a cool effect in this movie and done so well.
It's not the first time that vampires have had red glowy eyes in the dark by any stretch, but he did it really, really well in this movie. Another movie that he listed as being a massive influence, and very obviously, he said From Dusk Till Dawn. Weirdly enough, of the Robert Rodriguez movies, he said that The Faculty was actually more of an inspiration than From Dusk Till Dawn, which I find hard to believe because this movie is basically From Dusk Till Dawn with blues. But that being said, another movie that he said was a big influence, he said the book was, which I find funny, was Stephen King's Salem's Lot. Because in that, the vampires work exactly as they do in this movie, where you have one big head vampire, And all the other vampires still keep their personalities to some degree, but then they just become bad people. They're not themselves anymore. They're themselves, but they're bad. But the one vampire still controls them all, kind of like a hive mind, and they feel his pain, et cetera, et cetera. And in that as well, they can't enter unless you invite them in.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you right now that the scenes in this movie of people like trying to figure out how to get in, if that creeped you out, Ryan, go watch Salem's Lot, because one of the biggest nightmares I had as a kid was the scene in Salem's Lot where I forget his Timmy or Tommy or Jimmy or whatever his name, well, the hero kid is asleep in his bed, and his little friend who's been turned into a vampire, it floats up to his window and starts scratching on it going, "Let me in, Jimmy.
Oh God.
Let me play. Let me
That's
play
terrifying.
with you." Oh, dude, it's brutal. It will mess you up. And that is where they pulled a lot of the vampire, like how the vampires work in this movie.
Interesting.
It's pretty much, it's all just whole cloth taken from Salem's Lot and dumped into this.
Because
I really want.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just was saying, speaking on the letting in, I just want Ryan to see Let the Right One In as well, too.
Oh, that's a great.
Never heard of
That's
it.
a great one. I mean, that one basically takes a lot of vampire stuff, throws it out the window, except for that idea, and then just lets that ride.
Interesting.
And there's some really good moments with that little like vampire thing, you know, the trope, if you will.
Well,
What else you got there, Ryan?
It was interesting because I think that they did the thrall thing. Like the thrall thing isn't necessarily new, and thralls are done in different ways. Sometimes they have like the direct control over them, whether they keep their personalities or whatever. Sometimes it's that the thrall can't become like a full-blooded independent vampire unless they drink the blood of the vampire that made them, whatever. Like I've seen the thrall thing done before. The hive mind thing was new in the sense of like he gets all the memories of the thing, and then they like all like the shared kind of like almost like
shared
twin
consciousness
pain thing was also kind of a little bit of a departure, but like it was cool to see. You don't often see the thrall thing represented very well either. There's like almost always, I feel like in vampire movies, you get like the basic fang thing. You usually get the mirror because it's like it's a cool effect that people can do, and you get the like the stakes, the sun, like all the basic stuff. It's pretty rare that you get the ones that are more like kind of subtle, like the barrier to entry, the need permission, the social elements, and then like the thrall thing. And so to see, it's just so cool to see such a cool representation. And like, yeah, like there was some ridiculous stuff. The drool's a little goopy and wild, but then they also build it into like the way that Hailee Steinfeld manipulates Stack with it. Like, so well done.
Gross,
so good.
I heard that like that was a tough scene for Michael B. Jordan to film because she kept having to just spit in his mouth.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was just like,
God. Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of the director putting his own fetishes into this movie that went a little bit too far for me. But
Hailee Steinfeld did a great job, and clearly they got along great from all the interviews. But also, speaking of Michael B. Jordan, can we talk about the twin performance? Because we haven't touched on the twin performance, and we can't
we can't leave that alone. You're right. We can't get out of here without talking about the twin performance, especially the shot of them passing the cigarette, which apparently was an absolute nightmare of a shot to do. And it is so smooth. Dan, you had said something about this previously. Like, how long did it take you to realize Michael B. Jordan was playing both twins?
Well, no, I knew more about this going in. So I knew.
Was it you, Ryan?
It
took a while?
It was Ryan.
It took me almost. I checked today because I remember that it was originally when he goes and visits his lover when Smoke specifically goes and visits the mother of their departed child at her like store. Annie.
Yeah.
That was the scene I figured it out because he took off his hat. It wasn't until he took off his hat that I was like, holy shit. Like admittedly, it's only like a fifth of the way into the movie. It's like 20 minutes or whatever. But the thing is, A, Michael B. Jordan does such a good job differentiating their mannerisms. B, we get both the cigarette shot that you mentioned and then also the truck shot. The truck shot where they stab the rattlesnake and pass the knife. That shot's incredible. And apparently was a pain because they had to keep every little bit of the back of that truck in the same spot.
The same.
And like they had like a limited sun. Like that shot apparently was a nightmare as well because they had so many little accoutrements in the background that they had to keep track of. But like those scenes and the fact that they also separate them pretty early of like you see them in different places. And they Michael B. Jordan does such a great job of making Smoke more straight-laced and Stack so boisterous and magnanimous.
Yeah.
That like it literally wasn't until he took off his hat at the grave that I was like, holy shit, that's also Michael B. Jordan. What the fuck?
One thing that I said the first time I saw it was it's just his energy. It is just his stillness, like this in stillness, his energy in the two characters is completely different. It's not
Correct.
the facial tics, it's not just the vocal mannerisms, it's not any of the little things he does. It's not the red and blue hats. It's literally his just when he is in stillness, the two characters have a different complete presence.
Mhm.
They literally hold their jaw differently.
Yeah.
Their profile is different.
He does a fantastic job physically making them different. Even when he's not doing anything, it's a remarkable performance. It really
and
in a movie full of remarkable performances.
Mhm.
I wish I had done some more research on this, but I had seen a lot of behind the scenes, but they would show Michael B. Jordan acting, and he had to wear, I don't know for how many shots, but he had to wear this special camera rig.
Oh, and that, yes.
Like they had like 6 cameras around to track his face and track his mannerisms, so they could like do the twin shot as well and like make sure that everything was making sense, I guess. But I just remember seeing him acting. I'm like, I can't believe he's like doing these scenes with these like cameras just strapped to his body, so that they could get this right. So yeah, he did a lot for this, which is incredible.
There's a lot going on in this movie. Ryan, is there anything else that you have on your mind about Sinners, your movie this week? Or do we have a pretty easy Mike Logan this week, I think.
Honestly,
pretty easy.
that was pretty much everything. The one other question I'll throw before we fully transition off is, were either of you guys familiar with Haints prior to this movie? Because I was not.
I don't think I had heard. Yeah, because I was when I paid attention to that more this time around too. But I don't think I was familiar with it.
I fully misheard it as Hague both times, and then had significant trouble finding like the Hague, like the museum. I had significant trouble finding the actual thing because I kept searching Hagues, but like apparently it's specific to the American South, which is so cool, and like there's not actually a lot of information out there on them, but that was just something that they really make a point of in the movie. If she is so in tune with like the essentially like folklore and superstitions of her community, that her first conclusion isn't vampires, because vampires aren't very generally associated with the American South.
She got that real quick on they're vampires actually, and garlic steaks, and she just pulled that right out of nowhere for some weird reason.
Apparently it was the difference of the fact that he came back, because she thought that they were Haints, because so from what little I've found, Haints are spirits that possess people. They take over the body, and the person's spirit is lost essentially. But the body is inhabited by the spirit. Whereas the minute that Stack reanimates, she's like, "Oh shit, we ain't dealing with possession here."
Technically, he's a vampire, not a Haint. Well, good to know. Now we know how to fight them.
We've got a problem.
Yeah. Oh, we have a vampire. Yeah. I don't know what he is, but I know what he ain't.
How long are you holding that one? That was pretty good.
I believe genuinely the origin of the word, something to that effect. Actually, I'm not kidding. No, I've been jumping all show, but I think that actually might be part of the origin of the word. I'm not actually joking about that.
Oh, wow, really?
That's
hilarious.
But that is complete speculation on my point. I want to throw that out there right now. But okay, we have a movie with a fat KKK member, Mike Logan. Easy, done. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on, sorry.
Not only pal. He lies through their faces.
That's him. Yep.
And then goes to kill them.
So satisfying that ending.
Such a scumbag.
So good.
We actually have a few KKK members in this. We have Bert and Joan, also KKK members, played by Peter Dramanis, who is actually a musician as well. He's in a Canadian band called July Talk, and Lola Kirk, also a musician as well. If you couldn't tell by the fact that they had great singing voices, most people perform the music that you see them perform in this movie, like live on set. That's really them doing it. That's really them singing it. Jack O'Connell was singing with them. Like that's all real. Miles Caton, as you see out in the after credits sequence, dude can do it. He can do it. So great stuff there. But It's the name of the show. We got to do it. This is why you died. Sinners edition. Why did someone die in Sinners? Dan March of Madness. Why did someone die? There's a lot of death in this movie. A lot of people die.
Yeah, a lot of options
in Sinners. Why did someone die in Sinners?
You know, there's a couple people I could go with. There's a few I was playing around with, but I think, sorry, what was the Chinese woman's name? The character?
She was
wife.
Oh, she was Grace.
Grace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, she
Grace
screamed
Chow.
and she let him in, and that was it. And man, she just let herself burn. That was a crazy death.
She went right for the husband and took him down. Lady Danger put it this way. She stood on business. They were like, we're threatening your daughter. And she said, oh, hell no.
Basically,
that's not how this is going down.
From that point on, she's like, the minute they make that threat, her whole path is just like, guys, I ain't sitting around. Like, we're doing this.
If they're going to kill my daughter, they're going to have to do it through me. And I don't care if they kill all of you in the process. Yeah, she stood on business, and that is why she died. And actually, you totally jacked mine.
Oh, I did kill her.
That's totally fair. It's the obvious one. She's the one who was just like, let's go, let's die. I mean, there's a few where I'm like, what are you doing? Why did Delta Slim? Why did he suddenly go like, I'm going to just slash myself up and feed myself to a bunch of vampires so that you guys can get 2 more seconds of run time? Like, what? Of all the time for him to be like, well, guess I've drunk my last drink, and slice the veins. But I don't have an explanation for it, so I can't use that one. There's no explanation for why he did that. He just suddenly had a character moment where he's like, time for some blood effect.
I think like they were trying to imply, because Remick had said specifically he was coming after Sammy, right? He was like, I want Sammy. Sure. And so that whole little sequence, I feel like the mission is get Sammy out.
Can I point out that he gives Sammy some time to run upstairs?
There's
one of the worst horror tropes. So go up and jump, which he ended up doing. Yeah, but they still did the thing in the horror movie. They ran upstairs. Not that there's anywhere safe to be at that point, because the entire building's now infested with vampires. Although that being said, the vampires do decide to take a break at one point for some reason. They're shooting them with their endless guns, and then all of a sudden the vampires go, hold on, fall back, right as we need an emotional moment to kill Annie. And all the vampires just take off for a second, and then they come back for whatever reason.
There was that at that moment. I thought that's when they were realizing that, because she was trying to express that they could, if one of them was feeling pain, all of them could feel pain. So it's almost like they were, because she was trying to scream that to them, and then she was getting killed at the same time.
Correct.
So I thought that at that moment, she was discovering one of their weaknesses, and that caused them to kind of retreat.
One of their weaknesses,
it's very like,
they've won. They've literally won. They've overwhelmed them. All they need to do is go nom 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 to 3 people, and they're done.
And they really wanted Annie to live too. So I think maybe it was the fact that they lost her.
Well, he specifically wanted Annie to live so that he would have something to pull smoke in with. Stack wanted that.
Well, right. And we kind of get the thing where, like, because they have the emotional ties of the people, I think that Mary's reaction is genuine. I think there's a blend of her attachment to Annie and Stack's attachment to Annie, that like their emotional pain. I'm with you that I don't think that this is enough of an excuse, but at least in terms of trying, I think that their emotional pain of losing Annie, of like, oh, she's not going to be with us. We were trying to save people and bring them in, and we lose
Still
Annie.
Doesn't
but
excuse the entire horde.
They could have just closed it. I agree.
that was a problem. But no, I'm going to say Remick took too long saying the Hail Marys. He was baptizing Preacher Boy in the river a little bit too long there. Just enough time for smoke to come out and stab him in the back, improbably somehow dodging a vampire horde. And then luckily the sun comes up right at that moment, You fucked up. This is why you died.
I think how he makes it to Remick this time is because it happens right after Sammy hits him with the guitar in the head, right?
Yeah.
And we established that all of them feel that pain. I think Smoke took advantage of the head hit because they say Smoke's a soldier, they're World War I vets, whatever. The head hit causes all of them to reel back, and Smoke uses that opportunity to get to Remick is the only possible conclusion I can get. I agree it happening off screen isn't satisfying, but at least I thought it was ridiculous the first time. I was like, well, at least there's something there.
Now, did you notice that the piece that stuck in his head must have been made out of real silver?
I thought that.
Don't know why. Don't know why it would be made out of real silver, but hey, apparently Daddy had a really, really nice guitar. Yeah, it's steel, right? It should be steel, not.
I agree.
Whatever. But that's my Mike Logan. Remick taking too long
why you died.
Or you died.
He's the monologue. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. This is why you died. You had to do the villain monologue for too long.
You caught me monologuing.
You did. Smoke caught him monologuing. Ryan Ross live. Why did someone die in your pick, Sinners?
It's my favorite shot. Mary literally is walking away from the vampires.
Oh, yeah.
And she figures out they're freaky. She points a gun at them. And then rather than keeping the gun pointed at them while she continues to back off for the duration of the journey, she gets about 100 feet off or whatever and goes, I'm good, and just starts waltzing on back.
Well, she doesn't know that Remick can inexplicably fly.
That's true.
Two times in this movie.
She's still within running distance. If we're like
but she would have heard them coming. She didn't expect the little soft vampire.
But it's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, you can even go further back on that and say that her love for Smoke, right? Or Stack.
Stack.
Her love
She's
for
into
Stack, because she cared so much to care for him and show that love that she's like, let me go outside and get this money.
I'll get
for
the
you.
money.
Like, I will go out there and put myself in danger. Like, they already knew that these people were like off. Like, we shouldn't be there.
Well, they knew they were taking it. They knew they were taking a chance. They didn't know they were fucking vampires.
True.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like the worst she figured was they were some rude, weird KKK white people. That's the worst thing they could be. Which is she was not ready for how bad they were.
No.
I love how well they did the kind of just creepy echo thing of like they're just kind of like echoing his speech and shit. And she's like, this is really weird. Like, people don't normally talk like this. What's going on?
Why are they touching me? Yeah, the gun came out a little bit late for me. I was like,
they're like, oh, that's so sad. And they're like, so sad. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I think I'm done here. Thanks.
That's enough of you weird, awkward, needy white people. We're done here. Thank you.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, boys, it's the big moment. Scully time.
Ooh.
It's time to rate Sinners from 2025. Ryan Ross Live, it's your movie. We've been waiting. You've had a lot to say. You've had a lot to think about. What Scully rating do you give to Sinners?
I gotta go a 9. And I know that's probably lower than it sounded when I come in raving about the movie. Like the thing is, like, I love this movie. I think it's brilliant. I think it's cinematically, it's beautiful. I think it's beautifully acted. I think it's beautifully shot. I think the music's incredible. I think the vampires are done so well, and I love everything about them. There are a couple things that stand out to me that I just like feel like. It's not that they missed the mark. I just feel like they don't capitalize as much as they could have. I stand by that shot is a technical masterpiece. I think it just kind of sticks out as a sore thumb in the movie up until they pull out of the barn. And then another shot that I noticed that kind of bugged me was when he's ordering the sign from the couple and they tell the daughter to go get the mom, and we follow the daughter, the back of her head, out into the street. Like, we have this cool dolly shot where we're following her through the street, but we're getting like narration from Smoke and the shop owner as they're like out in the street, and it just like feels awkward. And like there's just little things like that bother me.
Go watch that shot again, because that's actually a really important shot, because it shows that on one side of the street are all the black people, and on the one side of the street are all the white people, and the Chinese people have a shop on both sides so that they can sell things to both sides. And that's actually something that's very historically true, is that the Chinese people who lived in the Mississippi Delta at the time would have stores in both sections of the city so that they could sell to both white people and black people at the same time.
I did not know that. That's super cool.
So next time you watch that shot, notice that the background, that what you're hearing in the background starts off with, Smoke telling them, oh, hey, yeah, I shot some people. Hey, here's what you do. And then you move onto the white side and you start hearing the white dialogue on the other side of the street, which is particular. And you got to hear what they're saying.
One of the things
it's not
like,
pretty.
I wish it's like, I remember the good days when they weren't even near us, that those kind of lines are being said by the white people. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
That's an amazing shot, and it really does illustrate what's really going on in that part of the world.
That explains that, because I didn't catch that. Honestly, well, now you guys make me feel like I should give it a 9.5. Like, the thing is, like, I really love this movie. I think there's so much detail and there's so much passion, and like, God, it's so good to see vampires done well, but also the cultural. Okay, 9.5. 9.5.
Oh,
it's like
look at that! We made Ryan. We made Ryan do the March.
Nice.
I love it.
There it is.
It's so good.
Yes. Well, speaking of the March, Dan Marchamanis, what rating do you give to Sinners?
You guys mentioned some little questions, some little plot hole things that I hadn't even like touched upon. Like, sitting here, I was thinking about knocking my score down by a 0.5, but I can't. So I'm gonna go a 10 out of 10 because this is this movie. I said this when we talked about Frankenstein. When we were doing the Frankenstein episode, I said it was Frankenstein, and it was this movie this year where at the end, and it happened to me the second time, where I was emotional and I was crying, not only because I thought that the movie was powerful, but because I, as a filmmaker, I saw what Guillermo del Toro had achieved with Frankenstein and what Ryan Coogler had achieved with this. And the closing edit is just phenomenal. After the little bit of post credits, like just seeing them prepping the juke joint and hearing older, preacher boy talking about like how it was the best night of his life, and it just, all the elements meant so much that this is, without a question, this is my favorite movie of the year. This definitely is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sinners is my favorite movie of the year. I think it is a phenomenal achievement. I think Ryan Coogler is a fantastic director, and I know he's going to do more. He's off to go do the X-Files soon, which is freaking amazing. So I can't wait for that.
Can't wait for that.
And speaking of personal stories, he said that he had a very close connection with his dad in Rocky, and he got to tell that story through Creed, and that his mom loved the X-Files. So now he's doing that project kind of for her. And so just the editing, the cinematography, the acting, the technical skill, everything about this movie, I just freaking love it. And so it has to take a 10 out of 10. I love it. And two tiny things. I noticed it again when they were all taking the garlic, felt like a little thing. The
nod to the thing.
The nod to the thing of like, let's see who can do. I love that. And also raise your hand if you want a Choctaw vampire hunter like spinoff. That would be freaking cool to see.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're all
I was
like, hey,
I want to see these guys in action.
Yeah. I'll do a Netflix miniseries of that. Sure.
Oh,
absolutely.
But yes. 10 out of 10. I love this movie.
Wow, that's a monster rating from Dan Marchamanis, and a 9.5 from Ryan Ross Live. It's going to be an 8.5 from me, actually. So, and I will defend that. It's an 8.5. I looked at every movie that I'd rated on the show so far, and I couldn't give it a higher score for a number of reasons. And it has nothing to do with its technical merits, with its performances, or any of that. I mean, we haven't even shout out Ludwig Göransson and his incredible score that and the music work that he did on this. Like, there's so many aspects of this movie that are absolutely lights out. But it is a whole bunch of things. They spent a lot, like you said, the details of this movie are incredible. As we talked about, the performances, the music, the cinematography, I think, is great in a lot of scenes and very technically proficient. But in other scenes, I see a lot of green screen work. I see a lot of narrow focus and blurry backgrounds. And it makes it look like it's shot on an iPhone with cinematic mode on. And it's a modern trend that I can't fucking stand. So there's scenes that are incredibly beautiful, and there's scenes that look like shit in this movie, frankly. In addition, I don't agree that the vampire stuff in this is very good. I think it's very derivative. I think that it doesn't follow its own rules, and it also doesn't even know what its rules are in a lot of its scenes. Sometimes vampires heal, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the vampires are all working as one, sometimes they have their own personalities. It's just arbitrary. Vampires are used in this as a tool for a metaphor. They're not actually anything to do with horror vampires, and I don't think that a whole lot of respect is given to horror vampires in here. He's just ripping off from other vampire movies that he likes,
we're gonna fight.
and throwing this into this movie. I didn't really work for me. Also, this movie structurally completely falls apart in the third act. And not only do you have entire storylines getting like for example, the fact that she knows what vampires are. It's such an easy out to just have a character just arbitrarily go, yeah, they're vampires, and now we know how to fight them. Having the Chinese woman out of nowhere just stand on business and open the doors and let them all in, even though they're all going to die, to me is a really lazy way to get the vampires in there, and I don't think they paid it off well enough. I think that and even beyond that, having all the vampires killed once again by a magically sunrise in 2 seconds, it drives me nuts. It was a really bad way to end all the vampires. And then beyond that, to then have Smoke just arbitrarily decide that he's going to suicide by killing a bunch of KKK members, and then have another ending beyond that in the credits, to me felt like it just structurally, it didn't all meld together, and it felt tacked on. And for me, rhythmically, the whole end of the movie just completely fell apart from a lot of things in the beginning that it started off well. Kind of like Metallica's One, except at the end, One becomes really good and Sinners becomes really bad.
Wow.
So I don't think that.
Dude.
I think that there's a lot of emotional resonance in the end. I love the scene with Buddy Guy in the blues house. I thought that really brought it back for me. But pretty much all of the, like, Smoke going toe to toe with Stack as a vampire, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that where we go straight into like comic book movie dumb, and it's silly, and it doesn't fit tonally for me with the movie that it had been built up to that point. The high point of the movie for me is that big IMAX crane shot. That's where the movie really establishes what it wants to say. And I like the use of vampires as metaphor for that. But I think that in a lot of ways, it's taking from a lot of sources, which is ironic for a movie about appropriation. It's taking from a lot of sources and putting things whole, like, in whole pieces into this movie, but they don't always all click together. I think that it's, again, there's a lot of brilliance in this movie. I am all in on Ryan Coogler going for an original movie in 2025, making it a big success, having getting a lot of freedom for him to do more movies in the future that are on his own terms. That's really exciting. This movie's really exciting, but as a movie, it's an 8.5.
This is wild to me. I disagree with. I think there's like two things that you said that I agree with, and I do think that the specifically
just two.
Out of
I got two.
list,
Okay,
you got two. Well, so the ending bar scene that Dan mentioned with the whole like it's the best day of my life. I think that is an emotionally resonant scene. I do think that emotional resonance, specifically from Stack's side, where it's like it's the last time I saw my brother, it's the last time I saw the sunrise, and for a few hours we were free. And then I got turned into a vampire. See ya, dude. Like, I do think like there's like a little bit of that doesn't really land because he is a vampire at that point. So I can take you there.
I do, by the way, love that he's a vampire and he's a culture vampire, and now he's just ripping off, like he's everything like 80s black culture. Like he's just feeding off of it. I thought was really funny.
That was great. I love
Cute.
that. I love his Stack.
Yeah,
Really
yes!
big
Oh
hand.
my
That
God.
was great.
Such a great critique of that. Anyway, sorry.
But then I do think that the Chinese woman letting them all in is a little bit like forced. I think in terms of like they need to get somewhere, and like they frame it with the daughter, but everything else. Man, like the vampires are done so well. What do you mean?
No,
like,
sometimes we can morph into having the long claws. Sometimes we can fly.
It's just
and
him.
sometimes
He's
we can't. Yeah. What? He didn't bring him out before when they first charged them. A whole horde of vampires charging like 5 people with the infinite shotgun perk on. Like come on. terrible. That's just yeah. It's in the same way that like Dusk Till Dawn didn't work for me with the wild tonal shift. I thought it would be better as two different movies. I think this as well. I think it's too many. He's throwing too many things into the soup, and you can't get. There's no hero flavor there. Mm-hmm. I think he lost it in too much stuff at the end.
Dan, Ian just hates vampires. This is what we're getting.
No way.
Don't you challenge me on that
at all.
Don't you challenge me on that. We'll do a dissertation on the history of vampires if you want.
I think he probably loves them so much that he can find the flaws in this one or what didn't work, whereas it completely works for me.
It was acute that he threw a little bit of vampires into this. You know, he threw the concept of vampires into the movie to just add something else to the gumbo. But that is it. That's our ratings for Sinners. Very controversial Scullies today. This is one we're going to be chewing on. I'm chewing on for a while. I knew you would. But I looked down my list of like the other 8.5. 8.5 for me is pretty good.
You gave the Monkey a 9, and you're giving Sinners an 8.5.
Monkey's a better movie.
My God.
But in addition, I gave the new Hellraiser an 8.5. I gave Green Room an 8.5. I gave quite a few really good movies 8.5s. 8.5 is a damn good score.
You also preached about how much you hate Scream and gave it an 8.5.
Because that one came around on me, and I think this is right at the level of Scream, where it's flawed, but it's also a really good movie. And I think this is one like that you can. I would have to have shame for the teasing to work. So, and I don't have any shame about this particular rating. But it is now, Ryan, it's that time. You're out of a prompt.
That's true. I got to get a new one.
You slashed your prompt, and then you used your prompt. We're sitting on, Dan, what prompt are you sitting on right now? We got in 2 shows.
I'm sitting on Car.
And I know you're having some trouble thinking about that one. I'm going to reveal mine for Spirit in a couple of seconds here, but Ryan's got his hand deep into the bucket of the beast, his Avengers bucket of the beast. Oh, he seems very excited. He's very excited. The black cat is helping him choose.
Yes, Nick came to help me choose. I reached past Rocket Raccoon and Nick came up. I got Myth, baby.
Myth.
Let me see if I can get the... There it is. Boom,
yeah.
baby.
Myth.
Let's go.
That's a great
excited about this.
Yeah, maybe you could do a vampire one and learn something about the myths of vampires. Great if we could do that.
Oh my goodness.
Myth is
a fight.
This is a very, very solid
podcast, everybody. It's been great.
Yeah, I know, right?
You gave it a 9.5. Dan's the one who gave it a 10. I don't want to hear it from you. But all right, so Myth, that's a great one for Ryan to be sitting on. Dan is sitting on Car. I'm going to give mine now. I am sitting on Spirit. Which is also that was a wide open on that one. And of course, automatically started thinking about ghosts, tons and tons of ghosts movies. But there was one that just really stuck out to me, and it's something that we've never really touched on in this show. We haven't gone this far back in history. I think it's going to be the oldest movie that we've watched on this show. And also, I think it's definitely the most unique one. We haven't done a movie like this, and that's Quite On from Japan from 1964, 5, something like that.
That's an old movie.
It's an old movie. It's a big movie. It's a very artistic movie, and it's a beautiful movie. I'm very excited to talk about that on the show. The fact that neither of you had a reaction tells me that neither of you know the existence of this movie.
This is like the first time I've heard of this. So
yeah, Quite On. Quite On, Kwaidan. It's actually from the Japanese Kaidan, Kaidan, which is like ghost story or story of the occult or story of mystery. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's cool. Okay.
It's literally ghost story.
It's literally ghost story.
Ghost, spirit. I was very on the nose about it, but I wanted to do some Japanese folk horror, and that's what this is.
Thought you were going to choose the Spirit Halloween Store movie.
I was so tempted, it was just right there. We've just done so many modern movies. I had to take us back in time.
It would be a great follow-up to Sinners.
Yeah.
It really would be. Yeah.
Band of people banding together inside of one location.
I might actually give Spirit Halloween a 9 out of 10, but we'll have to find out if we ever do that one. But instead, we're going to watch Quite On next time.
I'm going to pull my ears off.
But in the meantime, we're going to have to give Ryan time to calm down and not come over to my house and stab me in my sleep.
I feel like steam is rising from my head.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Now you know how I feel about Hellraiser. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been this episode of This Is Why You Died. Dan, tell them where they can find our socials, please.
Beacons.ai/TIWYD pod. You can find us on YouTube there, our Patreon, our store, and everywhere you can stream us on your podcast place of choice.
Yes. And Ryan, any shout outs we need to do?
Yes, we've got our dedicated benefactor, CG. Thank you so much,
CG. Thank you.
Yes, dedicated benefactor. We appreciate you, and to all of our Patreon supporters as well, but specifically CG for being a dedicated benefactor.
Thank you so much, CG. Amazing.
Yeah. And if you want to contribute to the show and help us out, we are on the ground floor. We're only going up from here, kids. You can go to patreon.com and throw a little something in the tip jar as well.
You get access to a bunch of fun stuff. We have a bonus extended episode of both the before and after of each episode you can find there. We put up bonus content of we did a deep dive on Frankenstein.
That deep dive on Frankenstein is a lot, man. That's worth your money right there.
Episode's worth of just more Frankenstein. I feel like that episode. But we've got more stuff coming. We have a little plan to organize a little game sesh between the three of us. Is something that we've discussed that may be coming soon as bonus content. So there's some cool stuff there, as well as you get access to our Discord, so you can interact with us. You can give us merch suggestions, all sorts of fun things. So check it out. It's a cool little site.
And to add on to that, if you want to get on the game sesh, we are actually going to be pulling from our listeners to help us out with that game sesh. So if you want to be one of the listeners who's a part of it, join our Patreon. We'll let you in on what's going on with that. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for listening to us. Thanks for joining us right here for Dan March of Madness. For Ryan Ross Live, I am Sir Ian Dangerous. We will see you next time right here on
This Is Why You Die.